There you go. All right,
Bye-bye.
talk to you a little later.
Thanks, Hunt.
Thank you. Aaron, we got you live here. There we go. The man himself. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, first again, thank you for joining us today. Just want to give everyone a little introduction for those of you that do not know Aaron. So Aaron, can kind of do this a little bit better. I'll butcher it, but he started in the shop himself, right? He grew a shop, built it to multi-location, and kind of went through this firsthand and saw what it takes to create a successful shop. That turned into a lot of people coming to him saying, hey, you know what, you're doing stuff right. I want you to teach me. And now he's able to grow that into the business that he has now, and is the owner, founder, mentor, main force behind ShopFix Academy. We have a number of shops that work with ShopFix Academy, and I think that kind of the culture that they have, the camaraderie that they can generate down there is incredible. I've seen Aaron speak. I know a lot of, the stuff that he stands behind, and I think it's incredible. I think he's also a great speaker. So yeah, I mean, that's enough of tooting your horn there, Aaron. So I'm going to get you a little introduction to yourself, and you can take it away.
Cool. So apologize. I'm in a hotel looking out over Austin, Texas right now at a business conference, and didn't realize we'd planned both these at the same time. So we're making it work. We're going to get it done. Good. So yeah, we help auto repair shop owners, but what I'd like to do is just give you some value. Probably seen I have a standing article in the back of Ratchet Wrench magazine every month, and they've probably heard of ShopFix by now, so they can track that down. But what I'd like to do is talk to everybody about average repair order, and it's something that's pretty simple, and it's something that a lot of people just don't put a lot of weight on. So what I'd like to do, and I'm going to use a notepad as kind of my slides, if you will, and a Sharpie marker. But everybody out there has a repair shop that, and hold on real quick. Hunt, you want me to go for 30 minutes, correct?
You got 30, I mean, you got an hour long. So I want to leave a little bit for Q&A at the end, but you want to go 30, 45 minutes, we're good to go on that.
Okay. All right. All right. So, the average repair shop will have a car come into their shop. They'll fix it, it'll leave, and they won't know what caused, at the end of the day, the customer to decide to drop the car off, what really caused the customer to decide to spend as much as they spent, and why their shop made as much as they made on that car. And it's for several reasons. We assume that the car is there because of what they said. We assume that they told us the truth when they dropped the car off. We assume that they had all that they could afford when they approved the ticket. We assumed that the entire job, we hit every boundary, did everything we possibly could. At the end of the day, though, none of those things are true. At the end of the day, what actually happened was the customer came in, like you guys were discussing before, there was some friction. We got them to do as much as they would be willing to do based on the friction we put in front of them, based on the issues that we caused ourselves. Meaning, the customer shows up, and let me write this down real quick. So the customer shows up at your shop, and I would say that probably 50%, no, we'll go with 50% of the ARO. And we're gonna do rider. So what I'm gonna do, let me use a bigger marker here. If we were to take that and put it here like this, if we were to have this be the ARO, and this be a smaller ARO. This is a shop that's very thorough. This is a shop that's not so thorough. And if we were to say that the advisor was responsible for a portion of this average ticket, but not all of it, because the customer pulled up to the shop, and the shop maybe had paint peeling on the outside, the black top is faded, maybe the inside's looking kind of rough and dingy, Maybe you've got a Big Al smoking a cigarette on the front counter, whatever it might be. If you stop and think about it, if we were to just come from here down, half of that ARO, if this was a $700 ARO, half of that is just because of the shop and how it looks. Well, Aaron, my shop's kind of ugly, but we make up for it in personality. We're real funny. We're real sharp in the front counter. That might work for you to a degree, but it doesn't work all the way. I got in an Uber last night. The guy picks me up. Guy's got a big beard, wearing shorts and a t-shirt. I opened up the back door. It was a Tahoe. Opened up the back door of the Tahoe, and I saw mud on the floorboard. But it had, the rest of the car was clean. So obviously one of his previous rides, the guy had mud on his feet and he got in the car. The first thing I noticed was mud. It was like, ugh, a little bit of a detractor. I got in and and before that, he comes around back to help put my bags in the car. He's got shorts on, a t-shirt, and just kind of a sloppy looking t-shirt. He just wasn't put together. I don't care about the big beard. I'm a beard guy. I love beards, but the whole thing wasn't put together. So I start making judgments in my mind. We get in the car, the guy's super friendly, we talk, and by the time I get there, I give him a big tip. I'm like, I love this guy, he's great. But I had to overcome all of these things. And what if I hadn't had a chance to talk with this guy and fall in love with this guy and realize he was great? I would have judged him based on the dirt in the floorboard and the way he was dressed, etc. People are doing this with your shop. They come in, and your shop can deliver 50% of the ARO. It might be able to deliver 75% of the ARO, right? But what I want you to see is about 75% is the most the shop's going to put forth. This last 25%, that's going to be the team. That's the team. Now, you're a small shop. This shop here, $200 ARO, or let's say 250. We'll be generous. 250. So this shop here maybe does high car count or it does low car count, but they're just not good at maximizing ARO. This guy here, just by default, because it's a smaller amount of money, they're probably going to have about 3/4. So I'd say at least 75%. I shouldn't say at least. I'd say at least 60%, up to 75% alone, covered by the building itself, the team, how they answer the phone, etc. And only that last 25% is really going to be affected by the advisor themselves or the fact that the technician found the work. But really, the team that interacted with the customer before the customer even bought, the way the building looked, the way the reviews were set up, the way the business was presented was determined in that first little period of time. So I want to make sure you understand something. ARO gives you a certain amount of money to work with. So let's say you spend, I don't know, a small amount of money on marketing and you do a ton of freaking cars. I mean, you're doing 1,000 cars a month, big shop. Well, 1,000 cars a month and a little bit of marketing means that each ARO is responsible for picking up just a couple bucks per car for advertising, right? Now, what if that same shop did only 200 cars and also spent very little on marketing? Wouldn't be a huge deal. Maybe they're up to $5, $10, $15, $20 a car. But what do you do if you spend a lot on marketing and you have low car count? You may go, Aaron, I got monster ARO. It's still very dangerous. Not a big fan of heavy marketing with high ARO and low car count. If you're going to run a high ARO shop, you need to run a higher volume shop. And the reason for that is because each car has a cost to it. So the moment a customer calls you up and they say, the phone goes ring, ring, and I go, hey, welcome to Crazy Aaron's. This is Crazy Aaron. How can I help you? And then the customer says, well, hey, my crazy wife has a Volvo and it's got an issue. And I go, oh, well, anytime your crazy wife's Volvo has an issue, you need to have that checked out by one of my ASC certified technicians. It's now a great time for you to come down. And the customer says, well, no, it's not. Or with COVID, like y'all were talking about before, I need you to do something for me, come pick it up, whatever. They get into all that. But what ends up happening is right there on the phone, the moment I picked up that phone, I had a cost associated with it. I had to prepay this bill. I had to prepay my internet. I had to sign a lease on my building, pay a deposit. I had to pay rent that month. I had to pay the advisor to be sitting there, all of that. So the moment that customer called and they answered the phone, the moment they picked up that phone, right then, I incurred costs. And every one of you do as well. So what we have to figure out is how does that cost get represented in these AROs here? Well, you may go, well, that's why I should have a big ARO. And you should, absolutely should. But I'll meet a guy who is doing 60 grand a month and his ARO is $1,000 a car. So that means 60 cars is what he's living off of. If he has the smallest blip on the radar, he's losing money. The smallest blip. And the moment he answers the phone and doesn't answer the phone right and the customer doesn't come in, that cost him right then. So what I want to encourage everybody to think about is, how do I minimize my cost per car? I've got to minimize my cost per car. Well, high car count is going to help with that. However, if you just do high car count, but you don't sell anything on any car, it ain't going to matter. So let me walk you through something. This ARO right here. Many of us are focused on the difference the advisor makes. But let me point something out. If your shop is being ran well, your advisor is only making about a 25% difference. And if the shop is ran like crap and you're down here at like 50%, then your advisor is having to make up a 50% difference. So literally saying that if your shop has a 700 average ticket, half of $700 is 350 bucks. Your shop's reputation is probably that 350. Your advisor's ability to close is the other 350. Now, that's only part of the equation. The advisor's not all of it. I'm just walking you through just this one piece. But what I need you to see is your advisor doesn't deserve all that credit. Your ability to run a really quality shop and have your shop set up well is what's determined half of your ARO. But the other half of the ARO is because of your front counter team. It's because of the way your team is set up and the way that they are closing on the ticket, the way they're presenting the ticket, finding the work on the ticket, etc. But let's stop and think for a second. What if we have a decent advisor that's getting us $350 a car? But what if the business is only getting us $350 a car? What if we improve the processes? What if we got every car done on time? We told Miss Smith her car's gonna be done at 4 p.m. on Friday. We got it done at 4 p.m. on Friday. We told John that if his car was gonna be done on Thursday at 3 p.m., we got it done at Thursday at 3 p.m. We told so-and-so we were gonna call them back, we called them back. I mean, everything we do, no comebacks, the work's done with quality. We don't even have any warranty claims. I mean, we just kill it. If you just focus on that piece and get the business to execute, you might get the business to produce a 400 ARO, maybe a 450, maybe a 5. And then the advisor is still closing above and beyond that. So I want to walk you through how the advisor, the technician, and everyone, they build this ARO up. The ARO that you have in your shop's not an accident. If you've got a flower bed with grass growing in it and bushes that are all funky, a mailbox with the numbers that are faded, you can't read it, a sign that's now faded from white to yellow, like my wallpaper here on the wall, to whatever it might be. And the outside's a metal building, the paint's all chalky. You walk inside, you got the old tile floor, you got dust all over the floor, you got paneling on the walls. All those things lower your shop's value. And if they lower your shop's value enough, you hurt the ARO. So let's back up a second. If you were to stop and think about it, when you have a low ARO, a lot of owners would go to the back of the room and they'd say, or the back of the office, and they'd grab the advisor and go, "What's going on?" They'd pound their fist on the desk. You know, maybe you wouldn't do that. Maybe you point your finger, whatever it is you do. "Mr. Advisor, I need you to close better. This is the issue. We don't have enough on each car, et cetera, et cetera." But they've not really stopped and just thought about what presents a great ARO to the customer. And if you stop and you think about it, we have a technician and we have an advisor. And that advisor is going to get on the phone, right? And they're going to call that customer. And when they call that customer, they're going to tell that customer something. And that customer's either going to agree to it or disagree to it. What you have to see is the technician finds the work and gives it to the advisor. But then the advisor takes it and gives it to the customer, right? So when you stop and you think about it, we got our customer here, they're on the phone as well. I've got the little phone cord. We don't have phone cords anymore, but that's the only way everybody knows what I'm talking about. So the technician finds the work. We come over here to the advisor. The advisor then, once he finds the work, says, "You know what? I'm going to close on that. I'm going to present that to the customer." And the customer then decides they're going to buy it. You have 1, 2, 3 filters. You control 2 of them, this one and this one. Think about it. Your job, all you got to do is you have to find the work, you have to sell the work, and the customer has to pay for it. So as long as you got the ability to find it and sell it, you get 2 out of the 3. All they got to do is have the ability to buy it. So you can't complain and say, oh, the customers aren't buying. You know, business is rough right now. Oh, COVID this, COVID that. Go butter. You got to stop and think about this and figure out how in the world you're going to make your business profitable. You still control 2 out of 3. But let's stop and think. If we have a dip in our ARO, what should we go check? We should be checking to make sure our technicians are inspecting. Because if our technician is finding $1,000 a car, roughly, and our advisor is closing on $500 a car, then we have an advisor that's at a 50% close ratio. That is very, very good. That's probably the best. Anybody that tells you, and let me just walk you through some things. Anybody that tells you that their advisor is closing 90%, that's an absolute lie. It's not possible. I've got hundreds and hundreds of shops across the country that I review this with. I've got my own 5 locations that I own. It's not possible. You count every single engine job and every single expensive catalytic converter and everything you tell your customers about, and you quote them everything. There is no way an advisor can hit 90%. It's not possible. And the way you track proper close ratio is not there's 9 sub jobs or 10 sub jobs and I closed half those sub jobs. So, you know, a flush, a tire repair, a set of brakes, an axle, a rear main seal, a head gasket, blah, blah, blah. And I closed 5 of them. So I got a 50% close ratio. No. It's dollar for dollar. It's proper close ratio. We don't pay our bills with sub jobs. We pay our bills. We go to Kroger, we go to the grocery store and Safeway with dollars. So if we're going to pay our bills with dollars, we got to get as close to this 50% as possible. Now, you may have a decent advisor that's in the 40% range. You may have an advisor that's only in the 30% range. That's replacement territory. Now, let me walk you through something though here. A lot of advisors, gotta make sure I don't get this on the table at the hotel or I will get in trouble with the Sharpie. A lot of advisors, they walk into a situation and they say something like, you know, I'm going to try to close this customer on this $1,000 ticket. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to present it in a certain way, but I just don't believe Johnny. I mean, Johnny came in here and told me this car needs X, Y, and Z. They told me I need this. I got to get this engine computer. I got to get it reprogrammed. I got to do all this stuff. And every time I listen to Johnny, this guy screws up. I mean, the last time I did it, I got yelled at by the customer as a comeback. Like, I know he's not right. And that's the problem, guys. If you have a tech that your advisors aren't 100% behind, that is the number one issue for a poor closing advisor. That's the number one issue for why your ARO is small. If Johnny's backed and you've been putting up with him because he's got a pulse, but nobody believes in this guy. I mean, guys, you're setting yourself up. You have to pause and go, all right, my advisors have been complaining. They've been saying they don't trust Johnny. They've only been kind of hinting at it because they're polite. They don't want to get you mad. You're the owner. You got to do something about this. You have to understand that this is a big freaking deal. You have to have quality inspections. Like when I say quality, I don't mean a big thorough inspection. I mean a big thorough correct inspection. Because if he tells you the wrong thing, it doesn't matter how thorough it is. It's got to be freaking correct. Well, Aaron, there's no ATECs out there. Oh, they're out there. They're out there. You just got to look for them. People tell me all the time, I can't find any good technicians. I ain't looking at it, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, where's your ad at? Let me look it up on Craigslist. Oh, well, it expired last month. Okay, where's your ad on Indeed? Oh, it expired. Where's your ad on Monster? Oh, it expired. Huh. Okay. You're not looking. Looking means I'm actually under every nook and cranny looking. You don't just put the word out, you're looking for somebody. Sorry, rabbit trail, but I just had to say that. So when it comes back to our technician and our advisor, we have to pause and we have to think about this. This is a mathematical equation. If I have a decent advisor, let's just say he's running the mill pretty good. He's 40%. If I find $1,000 on a car, he's going to sell me on average $400 a car. All right, so how do I find that? How do I make sure that my technicians find $1,000 a car, every single car? Every single car. How do I find that? Now, a lot of you have your own system and you track it yourself. Okay, great. A lot of you might lean on digital inspections, and that's because you just don't have enough structure in your shop. You need that structure, and that helps you get there. Okay, great. Whatever. The point is, you have to find whatever it is. Now, for those of you that are wondering how much is it for different styles of cars, what I recommend, hope this is valuable if y'all want to hear this, is about $800 to $1,000 on general repair. I'm going to shoot for about 1,400 on Euro, and then I'm going to shoot for about $1,800 on diesel. So right here you go. That's the numbers I want to look for average quote. Right there. You can track this real simple in a spreadsheet. Real simple in a spreadsheet. And if you've got questions about that at the end, I can walk you through it. Are there ways that you can go above and beyond? Sure, but let me point something out. You can skin the sheep once, you can shear the sheep over and over. And a lot of guys that have really, really high AROs also tend to have a ridiculous amount of need for marketing because their customers have to be replaced because they keep scaring them off and they have to trade their cars in. I don't know about y'all, I cannot drink out of these cartons. They suck. And it just tastes strange drinking from cardboard. So when you stop and you think about this right here, how can I find a way to maximize this mathematical equation? Well, one way is to recognize when I have a problem with ARO, I need to go to the source first. Who's the source? The technician. That's the first thing I check. The second thing I check, the advisor, their close ratio. The third thing I check, then can my customers afford it? Is there something out there in the market that's adversely affecting me like what we saw back in April? So if you stop and you think about this, and you always look inward first, because I control 2 out of 3 filters, right? Customer's ability to pay for the work, my ability to sell the work, and my ability to find the work. So I control the 2 here. So how do I make sure that this guy's always finding this work? And then how do I make sure this person's always closing it? Well, first thing you need to do is find out an assessment, get an average. So any of you that haven't tracked this, go take last week, find every single every single RO, every repair order, add up how much you quoted last week. Divide it by your car count, that'll be your average quote. Okay, it's a great experiment. It'll probably take you 45 minutes, so worth it. Then find out how much you sold. Divide that number against this. So if you found 40,000 worth of work, you sold $20,000 worth of work, you have a 50% close ratio. If you found 40 grand worth of work and you only sold 15,000, not so much. So what you want to do is you want to figure out that close ratio. Once you've got that close ratio, now I've got a baseline. Advisors are going to be very steady. Technicians are going to swing. So think about this. The technician's out in the shop. Shop's blown out. Cars are flying in. And if you're a yes shop like we teach, and I'm very anti-appointment, I got a whole lot of reasons behind that, but that's for another day, for another lesson. But you're sitting there and you're flying through these cars, they're coming into your shop, and your technicians are like, what am I supposed to do? You want this oil change done, or you want this brake job done? And they're sitting there with their hands up there like, what do you want me to do? Well, first off, you have to understand that the brake job is money in the bank. The oil change is a deposit that's trying to get into your business. It's somebody knocking on the door trying to get money into your business. So you've got to pause and you got to stop and you got to think for a second. You got to go, okay, this money is trying to make a deposit into my account. How do I get this money into my account, keep my technicians happy, get them to find more work? Because what's going to happen is if I shove this car down this technician's throat, he's going to get in a hurry. He's going to rip out his little flashlight. He's going to click it on. He's going to look under that car and find one thing, 2 things stops, write it down, turn it in. And your average quote went from $1,000 to $200 because a stressed out technician does not find work. So how do I do that yes system and keep him from getting stressed out? Then when it comes over here to the advisor, the same thing. You have a large amount of customers dropping off, large amount picking up. Let's say your advisors aren't real good at answering the phones and being organized in the office. And you may go, well, we're good at answering the phones, but our phones ring off the hook. You might blame it on telemarketers. Telemarketers aren't even the reason for all of it. A lot of guys like to use that. But if you're running a shop doing 200 grand a month, you should have about 3,000 phone calls a month. If you start checking in your phone bill and you start looking, you go, holy crap, I'm running 4,000 to 5,000 calls a month and I'm doing 150, there's a problem. If you're doing, let's say, 2,500 calls a month and you're doing 80,000 a month, there's a problem. What's happened is your staff has stopped calling out. Customers are having to call in multiple times to find out if their car is done. And that raises your car volume or your call volume, which then distracts your advisors, which makes the shop chaos, makes your employees running around, bumping into each other, falling down. It's awful. You can't run a business like that. So I would encourage you, make sure you track and get an average on the amount of call volume, the amount of work you're finding per car, what you're closing per car, and understand that while volume goes up and down for an advisor, they will swing a little bit, not near as much. Your technicians can wildly swing. You have to stay on top of that average quote. Now, something I'll point out to you. when you're trying to track this and keep everybody in line, your goal is to create a steady business you can pay the bills with, right? But there's still going to be ebbs and flows. If you have a flat business, that is human controlled car count. You do not want that. You want to know you're maximizing. You need some ebbs and flows, but you don't want something insane where you do 150 one month and 80 the next. That doesn't fly. That doesn't fly. All right. So, and everybody has seen this now. 200 grand a month is really the old 100,000 a month. That's kind of like the standard everybody's now shooting for. And those of you that have small shops, you're like, there's no way. There's no. Yes, there is. We do it with people all the time. Yes, there is. And that owner works less than you do. Let me walk you through marketing. If you stop and you think about it, your marketing is going to drive you a different type of ARO. You might do a radio where someone hears your voice. You might do direct mail where they get a ad or a coupon. You might do Facebook for top of mind branding. And then, you might do some TV. There's a million other options out there. You might do AdWords. AdWords are huge. And on TV, you can also do an ad and or of your voice. And then for AdWords, you could also probably, I would really say you're tapping into pain with that. Problem is, if there's nobody in pain, nobody's searching on Google. So that's the beautiful thing about these other things. So we love AdWords because AdWords, of course, is someone saying my check engine light's on, they're looking for help. The problem is if their check engine light is not on, they're not going to see you. Direct mail, it's great because you're hitting their mailbox, you're waking them up. Radio might be hitting them only when they're in their car, but it's in their car. And if it's a commercial that's about their car, the two connect, and socially, it kind of does something in the brain, really is effective. Top of mind is great. It's more of a branding message on Facebook. The problem is, well, the good part is it's cheap. The problem is it really doesn't deliver consistent car count all the time. It really just helps them, it helps you maintain retention. TV, you've got to be a monster business to afford it. And I would say TV and radio, when you get north, radio, if you get north of 2 million in your metro area, you can't afford radio unless you have a chain. On TV, really, when it comes to running ads and trying to make it work, you can get on cable networks and get into small towns or communities in just a certain area, and it can work, especially with all the news channels right now. I mean, the ratings are through the roof with the election and everything hanging in the air. So I would tell you to really wrap your head around this. All of this gives you a different size ARO. So this is what I've seen. My experience so far is the radio is number one as far as the highest ARO. There's something about the voice and you being able to tell your story. People kind of lose that with TV. On TV, they end up getting into a lot more detail about the shop and they lose the story about the business sometimes. But I would say TV is strong. It's going to be around number two, probably also the most expensive. We'll put $3 signs next to that. AdWords can be one of the cheapest. I would say that direct mail also, but I would tell you as far as just ARO, probably AdWords is next. We're going to give it just $1 sign. Facebook, I would say, is probably going to be last. So what we're going to do is hit 4 right here with direct mail. And we're on direct mail, we're probably going to do $2 signs. I need to give you for radio also $2 signs. And top of mind, we'll just do 1 and put that number 5. So you might have to have a mix of all of these. If you're a small shop just getting started, AdWords is one of the cheapest things you can do. If you are in a small town or out in the country, AdWords will not work for you. It'd be better just to do a small direct mail campaign getting going. Then whenever it comes to TV ads and getting into small markets, I'm going to tell you that, it's the same thing with that. You've got to decide if you have that availability in your area. And if you do, you need to get somebody to help you write that copy. Make sure you do visually stimulating ads that are going to create a reason for them to come in. It's got to be an offer attached to it. Radio, it is insane what radio can do for ARO. However, radio can be extremely expensive, much like TV. And then I put $2 signs though here because I'm assuming you're in a smaller town. If you do that, less than a couple million people. If you're in a Houston, Texas, you are not doing radio. It's not happening. Now, as a subheading of radio, Pandora and Spotify, you could go after. Pandora actually goes more after money though. Spotify goes after a younger generation that's typically broke. So I would not go after Spotify if you're going to advertise to get into offices on computers. All these things, though, deliver different levels of ARO. So just like earlier, we talk about the shop being set up and it presenting 75% of this right here. Radio does the same thing. The highest of all, the highest ARO of all is referral. That's the number one, because my cousin Vinny told me to go. I heard you're the best. I'm coming to your business. That's the number one. But now I need you to understand something. What if we spent $10,000 a month on just anything, right? If you do 500 cars and you track the math on that, that's roughly $20 a car. So if I did $10,000 in marketing, I have $500 cars a month. Each car has a $20 cost attached to it. Well, Aaron, that was only to new customer. It doesn't matter. It's also for retention. Those ads are hitting customers. If they got it last time that got them to come to your shop, they're getting it again this time. So I need you to think about that. It's costing me $20 a car. But what if instead of 500 cars, we can swap it here. What if instead of 500 cars, we did 200? What would this be here? Now this is 50 a car. So now if I'm at 200 and now $50 is going to every single car, I really got to pay attention to my ARO. Average repair order is everything when it comes to this. Now people will tell me all the time, Aaron, what's most important? Is it car count or is it average RO? It is always car count, because without car count, there is no average RO. So car count is number one. But right, it's like 51% this, and right behind that, 49%, if I can get this to draw, would be average repair order. It's that important. You should understand percentages really well after the election just recently. So if you can wrap your head around this and you can see what's going on, you can start to go, okay, how do I maximize this? How do I get the marketing? How do I get the marketing to deliver the highest average RO, then get my building to bring that to the next level, my team, which would mean how they answered the phone, how they were dressed, were they in a nice collared shirt, buttoned with a tie, right? And tie is what we do. You may not want to do that. Now, my ladies don't do that. They wear business casual, but all my guys are in a shirt and tie, except for Fridays. We do jeans and we do a button-down shirt just tucked in. But how do I get my marketing to deliver to me the highest ARO, then my building, and then my team to deliver the highest ARO, and then my technician to then find the right amount of work, and it be quality work, not just find a ton, but quality work. And then how do I get my advisor to then close on that work? If I can get all of that to be done correctly, the only thing left is my customer to pay for it. I need that. I need those greenbacks, right? I can't draw George Washington, but I've got a bunch of money. So how do I get that customer to come off that money and do that for me? Because it's that simple. I want to market the best way to give me the highest ARO, to give me the right building, to have the right team, to get the right technician to inspect it, to get the right advisor to close on it so I can get paid. And all this must be done keeping in mind the volume that my shop is doing. If I have a low car count and I start raising my ARO, that is an internal fix. I also have to do an external fix. I have to start growing market share, because if I don't, I'm going to increase my ARO. And then what's going to happen is, if low car count, I'm just increasing the amount of overhead attached to every repair order. And if I do that, that means if I don't get one ticket, it costs me dearly. It's the silent killer of repair shops out there. So you got to make sure that as you're growing ARO, you are growing car count to go with this, so that your business has a larger set of volume, that it can bear the burden of the marketing expense on every single car, the overhead expense on every single car, the technician expense, the advisor expense, et cetera, because every car has a dollar amount attached to it. Now, that being said, we've got to make sure that we wrap our heads around this and we can do the simple math. Now, I broke it down by the car. It's very, very simple to do this multiple ways, but everybody has to do this the right way. And many people screw up and they attach how they do repair order math with P&L math. And I want to encourage everybody, you need to get a business summary, and then you need to make sure that you have, we'll just do a P&L. And on that P&L, we're going to have our revenue, and we're going to have all of our costs, our overhead, and our net profit, right? And over here, we're going to have our car count, and we're also going to have hours. You have to combine these two pieces of paper, and then you need to sit down and do the math and go over everything I just walked you through. Some of you could raise your repair order by just pivoting to a different marketing source. Some of you could raise your repair order by just getting technicians to inspect better. Some of you could repair the repair order, and I mean by repair, increase it by getting your advisors to sell better, by getting them in sales training. Some of you could get your RO to perform at a, sorry, I'm looking at an interstate and some guys like stopped in the middle of the interstate. It's kind of funny. I've never, I don't ever stay in hotels on the 19th floor. They gave me the 19th floor, so I got a great view and it's distracting. But what ends up happening is your business has multiple places it can break. It's your job to diagnose where the break is. So do I have a technician that finds lots of work, but he sucks and it's always misdiagnosed, which makes my advisor not have confidence, which makes me think my advisor sucks when they're actually pretty good. So you've got to be able to know the source of the issue. If you don't know the source of the issue, you're not going to get anywhere. So every one of us on this call, we've got to make sure that we understand why what's happening is happening. If you can understand that, you can connect the dots. The reason I became so successful in the coaching business was I was able to come in and go, no, you think that's the problem. This over here is actually the problem. And I just walked you through a bunch of it. You could have an owner that has technicians that are finding all the work, but if they have a customer predisposed to not spend money because they got that customer from Facebook, then they're going to have a low average RO. If you have a guy who thinks he's the bee's knees, is the best advisor in the world, but they have some small AM station they're advertising on and it's bringing in customers, they're spending tons of money, but it's only bringing in a few and exaggerates the ARO, they think they're the best salesman on the planet. No, you've got to understand all of this is a work mix, and it all causes the entire shop to go in a certain direction. But when a shop tells me, I've got a great salesman, we do 60 cars a month, $1,000 a car, 60 grand a month. No, you don't. You think you do. What you're not paying attention to is the shop is so small that you have everybody overseeing how technicians inspecting a car. I mean, you can't ask any guy doing 200, 250 a month. They can't go and get into the nitty gritty like the guy doing 60. See, you're disqualifying all the little things your business is doing as far as systems when you're doing 60 grand a month that are actually increasing the ARO. You're disqualifying the fact that you're relying on a source that gives you a great setting for a high ARO because your shop is advertising on a certain radio station. It allows you to tell your story. Maybe you got a referral program and that's all you do. Well, it's 60 grand a month. You can live off of referrals. Let me tell you, at 200 grand a month, you can't. The shop's got too much going on. It's too busy. You can't always ask for referrals. Now, you can ask for them, but no one's going to do it all the time. I'm not going to get up there and tell you I'm going to do it all the time. I own shops. I'm going to tell you the truth. We do it when we think to do it, and we try to always do it, just like we try to always ask for reviews. But everyone on there, you can tell I own a shop by the way I'm talking. You get out there, and all of a sudden the crap hits the fan, and everybody's on the front counter, and you could have a day that you get blown out. You're exhausted. You sit back, you're like, whew. You go and you pull up the computer, you punch it all in, you go, $1,000? All we did was $1,000 today, and you ran 24 cars to the shop. We couldn't inspect anything. We got our butt handed to us. That happens because the shop does not understand the dials that actually turn and affect results. If you understand what affects results, you can wrap your head around this and you can actually make the shop grow. But if you don't understand what affects the results, your shop ends up being hindered. It stays small. You can't just say, oh, I have a low average RO, my salesman sucks. No. What if your technician is awful and the advisor has no confidence in him? What if the technician is finding the work, but the advisor is not even presenting it? Do you have any accountability for that? What if the advisor is presenting it and the shop is just awful looking? What if you have a front counter person, a CSR, some answering the phone, and they're awful and they're getting the customer in a bad mood before they ever even arrive? All these things that set up the advisor to fail. If you can wrap your head around this and you can pay attention to all those little details, you'll start to go, oh, that's where my shop is strong. And so I would encourage everyone out there, list it all out. That I know just threw a lot at you quick, but list it out and decide, what are we good at? What are the items that I know we're good at? So I'll give you a few. Are we good at inspecting? Are we good at inspecting? Do we have good diagnosticians? Two separate things here, like I just laid out. Are we truly good at selling and closing on the work? Is my building up to snuff? Meaning everything the customer sees, the parking lot and the lobby, waiting room, bathroom. Do we answer the phone well? Think about it. Is our marketing source a source that's going to deliver us a quality client that has money to spend? I just told you, I'll give you an example. Spotify is going to go after a younger generation. Spotify actually is not making as much money, I think last time I checked, is Pandora. Pandora, you may not think it's the bee's knees, but an older crowd listens to Pandora when it comes to listening on the radio in their office. So, I mean, you stop and you think about this stuff, and it is absolutely insane. Direct mail. Are you mailing to a quality home? And the distance trumps dollars every time. You have to think about this. Don't be mailing to the wrong address because they've got tons of money, but they're 8 miles away. They're not going to come to your shop. You'll get 2 of them too, but that's not going to work. So you have to look at all of these different things and go, how am I delivering on my business to get the ARO where it needs to be? So I hope that helped everybody. Hunt, I don't know if I should go longer, if I should go shorter. I think I just went through 9 pieces of paper.
I think that people are just sitting back here reeling right now, being like, hey, I thought I have this figured out, but I don't think I have anything figured out. But no, it's been incredible. I mean, I think that a lot of times, people think that once they start looking at this stuff on the surface, that's it, right? Hey, I need to make my ARO better. But just like, this is all a numbers game, right? So whether you're looking at your profit, you're looking at your sales, you need to dive into a little bit more and say, well, why are our numbers not as good as what they should be? And, just like you said, a lot of people don't look in the mirror. I mean, it's kind of cool because I don't see a lot of shops do this, but I was talking to a shop the other day and he's trying to grow his business. He's trying to take it to the next level. And he was smart enough to say, you know what, before I do that, and before I try to drive all this work to my shop, I want him to get the good first impression. So he redid his entire parking lot, repainted his entire building, because he says, hey, if I'm trying to drive this and I'm trying to sell a premium product here, I got to at least look like I'm selling a premium product. And that's something I think so many people just kind of miss.
Absolutely is true. And I would tell anyone out there that doesn't have the funds to start improving all these areas, you always want to start with the outside of the business first, because we can make our business with $50 in paint look a lot sharper. Go get the tar at Home Depot, spread it yourself, paint the stripes yourself if you got to, go buy the mulch, trim the flower bushes, whatever it is. Say you're in an industrial park, you don't have a flower bed. Go buy the fake evergreens from Amazon, put them in a pot, stick them outside, just dress your spot up, dress it up, make it look sharp. And then after that, you do the office. And then after that, you do the bathroom. Then after that, you do the shop. Because you want a customer to pull in and go, oh, this looks nice. This matches the advertising. Oh, this is going to be a great experience. They walk in and they go, holy crap, this is a dump. But I'm here. I'll spend the money. So you want customers to, if you're trying to make money with this and you're trying to grow your shop, especially if you're in a financial bind and things are tight, always start with the outside first and then work your way in. Yes, you're kind of tricking the customer. They're pulling up to what they think is going to be a beautiful experience. And it's not so beautiful on the inside, but that will allow you to make more money, get the funds necessary, spend it on the interior, put down some cheap but nice looking flooring, dress up the front counter, and do the things that matter. So just make sure you do them in that order: outside, working the inside.
Love it. All right, so we got a couple questions here. So first one, what is AdWords?
AdWords is Google AdWords. So when you go and you Google something online and you see all the different things that pop up, there'll be a top section there that's highlighted, and that top section that's highlighted are ads that people paid for. Google ads are second position auctions, meaning if I wanted to buy the phrase check engine light, that phrase, I could just be, if it was like a traditional auction, I could just be willing to pay more than anyone. I'll pay $100 in, a spot for that. and get them to click on that and call my website. Well, the issue with that is Google, to keep things honest, is always going to award the second position. So someone may say $3 and they may win at $3 because I said 100, they said 3, and everybody else was at 250 and $2.45 and so on. So you want to win. And if you're in a spot where you have tried Google AdWords and your AdWords guy is telling you, hey, I can't get it to go over $1,000 or $500, that means there's only so many people Googling the word or the phrase check engine light, and only so many times can you win. And that means your market is crowded. If you're out in the country, a lot of people don't use much Google because everybody knows there's only one place to go or two places to go. So that works more in metropolitan areas or in at least an area where you have multiple small towns around, so there's enough people. So make sure you only use Google AdWords in the right setting.
Yeah, and also a big thing, keep an eye on Google AdWords. I've seen people drop a ton of money into it and think it's working, and they're driving clicks, they're driving money, and they're driving up their bill for Google, but it's not driving results, you know? And so all this
Amen.
advertising, you know, you can't analyze any of this stuff until you figure out where these people are coming from. And I see that all the time of, I got 7 different things we're doing for advertising. I said, well, which one's working? And they kind of just, you hear that on the phone and just go silent because you can tell they're not asking people how they're hearing about it. So it's, if you're not
It's
following up on
huge.
this stuff, you're not making sure that you're getting value out of this. You got to be careful. Like you said, if you're in a major metropolitan area and you're using just some cookie cutter, you know, Google SEO AdWords, you can really spend a lot of money really fast, and it's not going to drive any business to you. So.
Yeah, and it's the 80-20 rule. Usually 80% of your business is coming from 20% of what you're spending on marketing. So keep that in mind.
Cool. All right, we got another question here. Justin, any advice on comebacks? I've been trying to implement accountability protocols to discourage comebacks because they're my biggest ARO killer. It is not usually anything major, but it's definitely there. The only thing I can think of is back flagging like I used to get when I was a dealer. I'm guessing he says black flagging like when I was a dealer tech. So how do we stop comebacks? How do we analyze that? I know I've heard of shops that actually have a shop foreman or like a, you know, quality control person that are looking at that stuff, but how do you address that on an individual level or shop level?
Yeah, so I teach a QC program. So I have a guy, like you just said, who checks every car, but we also record who has screw ups. Like the same guy will always leave a radiator cap off. It's hilarious. The same guy has a stack of belly pans that go on cars under his toolbox. The same guy has BMW and GM engine covers stacked behind his toolbox that he's not put back. So the same guy's always buying a new flashlight because he leaves it in the trunk or the floorboard of somebody's car. So you need to have a quality control process where they do a minor checkup on the car. They do a little bit of a clean. They do a second test drive. The technician drives it once. The QC kid drives it twice. And I have this at every store. It's $2,500 a month for this kid at every store that I have. So everybody do that. Number 2, then you have to track it. Like if he has an issue, he has to write it down. And he does not go back and tell the technician. A lot of people do it that way. He has to go back and tell the advisor or the manager. Because if you tell the technician, they try to cover it up. You got to go tell the office. It's got to be known. We're paying these guys a lot of money. They have to put out quality work. And then you can decide to back flag, etc. All it takes is people catching them a few times, the embarrassment of getting caught. Just the public embarrassment of getting caught. Now, they're not going, hey, Bill, you screwed this one up too. They're not doing that. They're going up to the office. And the office is going back and saying, hey, John, we had little Timmy do a QC on your car and the check engine light came on back on a second test drive. Can you check it out again? Oh, I'm sure it's just so-and-so. I'm going to clear it. Well, we don't do that. We don't need the car to leave. And as a lot of technicians say, just send it. You know, we're not going to let the car leave and then us have to deal with the call 2 hours from now. We're not doing that. Let's find out what's going on, etc. So if you do that on the front end, you're going to weed those guys out real quick. And then if you actually embrace your advisors, when they tell you there's an issue, listen. If they tell you this guy sucks, listen. Don't brush them off. Please don't brush them off.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Is, you know, we need to learn about why this stuff is happening, right? So understanding what happened, what procedures were missed or, you know, glossed over that allowed that to happen, and making sure that we can nip that in the bud, and then also address it on a technician level of, all right, what do we learn from this and how are we going to stop it going forward? So
yeah, and some of these technicians are just not any good.
exactly.
And let me just tell everybody this. everybody just think this part through. This is hilarious. You may have a team of 4 technicians. You may go, Aaron, it's the best team of 4 I've ever had. How many did it take for you to get to this point? You may go, dude, I've fired 65 people to get to these 4. Well, where do you think those 65 people are working? All around you in all your competitor shops right now. So if you can just fix the car right, you're going to beat all those guys and you're just going to crush it. So you just need to think about the fact that all those guys are around you right now. So let's just fix the cars right the first time. Make it a huge deal to fix cars right the first time. Make it part of our culture. You won't have to back flag anybody. Now, we do ask them to do it for free. We don't back flag them. It just comes in and we just say, you got to fix it for free, unless it's a part. But if the technician's like always, oh, it's always the part, every single time, you got to see through that.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of times too, is you can't change someone's personality, right? You're going to have these people that are just sloppy, don't care, don't take, pride in their work, and you might just need to have a personnel change, right? Kind of like how we were talking about, you're not going to be able to drive the ARO that you want if it's coming from the wrong marketing source. You're not going to be able to drive the quality that you want from some of these technicians because they're just not good. And unfortunately, for a lot of shops out there, I know there's probably a lot of people listening right now, they know that, right? Because they're saying, hey, this is not the team I want. This is the team I have. Almost everyone I talk to, once you get above 4 technicians, you're going to have that people where it's like, hey, if I had the opportunity, that guy's gone tomorrow. But there's not a line of technicians out there beating down the door. So for right now, his job is safe.
I have a close friend, Mike Brewster, got a big fat shop up in northern New York State, and he says all the time, Aaron, it may not be your dream team, but it's your team. And that is all of us. We have to decide that we're going to step up and make it happen with our team right now that we have.
Exactly. Cool. All right. One question here. I think this is more of an HR question. If your technicians are paid hourly, can you require them to fix it for free? If they're there, I don't think you can really make them take unpaid hours. I think you might get into
that's why I'm
issue.
a big fan of flat rate. But if you're paying your technicians hourly, which I'm not for, but if you're paying your technicians hourly, I get it. Instead, what you're going to have to do is make it impact their bonus or something, but you cannot touch that hourly number. The hourly number obviously is sacred, so you can't do anything there. But just the shame, and don't go shame an employee. You shame an employee, they're going to quit. But just the shame of them knowing the office knows they screwed up. Usually, if they have any integrity or character, it takes care of everything.
Exactly.
They'll own it. And a good quality technician who has a quality, heart, they're a good person. They're gonna be like, okay, I screwed up. I'll own that. I'll eat that. If you get somebody that's already denying it and everything else, that just shows they have a really low maturity level, and you're in for a world of hurt in the next 5-6 months.
Perfect.
And John Lonis is full of crap.
Yeah, John Lonis says Aaron was not born with a silver spoon. He started on it like Saabs. Poor guy. Listen to him. Are you a Saab guy, Aaron?
Dude. John's a good dude. Yeah, I started on Saabs, man. That's what I started on, in a barn in my backyard, working on Saabs.
There you go. We still got a couple. Story. We still got a couple Saab shops out there. They're still out there.
There's a couple. I still own Saabshop.com.
There you go. If anyone's on here, here's your bidder. This is who you got to talk to try and own that. All right, so we got a good one here, and this is I had a question on this as well. So Aaron, you talked about low car count versus high ARO. I think it sounds like this guy has one of your situations where they have a high ARO shop, but lower car count than they desire. They spend a ton of marketing and they can't seem to break past the 125 mark. What is your recommendation on this Euro shop in the Boston area? And Euro shops are always the ones that we see with the low car count, high ARO for the most part.
Yeah, and what they don't understand is they actually are creating only so much room. So let's say he's running, for easy math, 1,000 a car and 125 cars, 125,000. He might be doing 700-800, but for easier math, let's do 1,000. What was his name?
Alan.
All right, so Alan, with that particular shop, when you go to spend some money on marketing and they deliver you a certain type of customer, and then you hit that customer over the head and you go, you need, let's say, 2,000 a car. And that customer goes, dang, every time we go to that shop, honey, It's $2,000. And then they agree to $1,000. They're going to either leave you or they're going to say, you guys are great, but my car's crap. It always breaks. And they're going to trade their car in. So what you need to study is your return versus new customer count. You really want about a 70-30 of new 30%. Let's say you're doing 100 cars a month, 30 new customers a month, and you want about 70 return customers a month. If you look and you're running about 40% new customers every single month, then what's actually happened now is your shop, and this is what's crazy, is running people off and they're not coming back. Not because you're not quality, not because you don't have a good sales team, but because you're finding so much, you're scaring the bejesus out of your customers. Like they are freaking out. So I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I'll give you two or three other options as well. But on that, I would stick to a $1,400 average quote and trying to, you know, and then even if you got $1,000 ARO, but you're only telling about 1,400, you're not overwhelming them. Also, I would tell you to consider how you're answering the phone. You might be doing a great job advertising, but you may have someone answering the phone telling people no. You also might be doing appointments and scheduling people out. If anyone on this call is scheduling people out more than 48 hours, you can hire another technician. You may go, that's not possible, Aaron. It is possible. You're literally, I gotta just explain it. You're literally, how much time do I got? I got 7 minutes. All right, I can do this in 2. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Customer calls on Monday. Can I come in? You're booked all the way through Wednesday. You start scheduling them on Thursday. You get to where you have 10 cars scheduled on Thursday, 8 cars scheduled on Friday. Remember, you're booked through here. You've told everyone no. They say, okay, great, that's awesome. You end up with 12 cars this day and 9 cars that day. You say, dude, it was a success. We crushed it. You're bragging, high-fiving your team. No one pays attention to where the cars came from. In actuality, our appointments were not 10. Our appointments maybe were only 6. And then we had 6 walk-ins, which gave us 12. That shows us 2 things. Holy crap, 6 walk-ins in a day. Imagine if you just kept saying yes to everyone and struck while the iron was hot. And then also, you dropped 4 of your customers. 4 of your customers freaking lied to your face. Let me just point something out. My wife's water heater goes out. You think I'm waiting 4 days to get it fixed? If this hotel room, this is an expensive hotel room. If my water stops getting hot tonight, you think I'm waiting? I'm down there pounding on the front desk to get a new room. In auto repair, for some reason, we think, I don't know why people think we were like a dentist office. Who the hell came up with that stupid idea? We are not a dentist office. We are a greasy, dirty, nasty business that works in the gutters, and you just need to freaking own it and spit shine that turd and make that thing a yes business and get your customers in the door. Because if you don't service them, one of my clients is just down the street and they will, and we will eat your lunch. So be pro-growth, staff where you want to be, and say freaking yes. Because if you don't say yes, the silent erosion every month, it just keeps happening. And the more days out you are, the more customers don't show. Oh, Aaron, they always show. Boom. There's no way. There's no way. Use common sense. You cannot run a booked out shop. And if you've got 48 hours, if you're booked from Monday through Wednesday, shoot, if you're booked to the end of Wednesday, that's 72. That's way more. You cannot run your shop like that. That's an entire technician. If you're at 3, hire a 4th. You'll pop to 125 to 150, 160, and you'll go, oh man, I don't know what to do. You might even have to add some office staff. But that's my opinion, Alan. Sorry.
That was perfect. No, we see that a lot with Euro shops. One of my clients I was talking to the other day, and they killed on ARO, but their close rate is like 15% because he's self-proclaimed. He's like, we're car killers. And that's one thing that we need to do better at is figuring out what this person really needs. This is a $5,000 car. We can't give them a $6,000 estimate,
And that's the other thing. For rule of thumb, we're going to tell the customer about everything, but we're not going to quote everything. There's a big difference. So I can tell the customers 10 items. I can go, hey, you need to go ahead and get brakes. It's $450. I'm going to recommend a timing belt. That's $1,000. I'm quoting $1,400. I did want to let you know that your transmission's leaking, your oil cooler's leaking, the axle and the differential in the back's leaking. Your rear brakes are down to 3 millimeters, but it's all got some life left. It looks like you've been dripping in the driveway for a while, so that's all fine. Just get a timing belt and and so you're not going to put a price next to those items. And then in the recommendations, you just write those headlines, but we're not going to do the work of estimating it and quoting it. So when it's a
You gotta put yourself
POS,
in these people's shoes, right? You know,
yeah,
if
you
this is my
quote
car, like
safety.
I can't with a straight face tell you, Aaron, to do all this to this car. You know, if you want
Yeah.
to do all of it, then I'm really going to say, you know what, Aaron, I got to advise against that. It's not worth it. If you're really sentimental or whatever, hey, you want to get it all done, fine, I'll do it. But you know, you got to put yourselves in these people's shoes and say,
Well, and
what's the
you got to
best
be
choice?
careful there. We've had a lot of customers get offended if we don't
Hmm.
set it up correctly. So I would tell you to quote safety first. I was joking when I said it. I threw out the rear brakes like they weren't a big deal. I would actually make the rear brakes a bigger deal. But
2 out of 4 is fine.
this is story time right now. Nobody, don't let the details get in the way of a good story. But if you're trying to sell the customer on safety and the safety is enough to total out the car, then I think I would go what you just said. But if there's just a lot of leaks and other things, I'd still just sell it because people are buying miles. Many people don't have $6,000 to go buy another car, let alone fix this one. So one presentation line you could just say to the customers, you can go, hey, Mr. Customer, I can tell looking at this situation that your vehicle is a special car to you and you've taken great care of it. But obviously this transmission is out. You've got a radiator that's leaking. You also have a water pump that's leaking and also the AC doesn't work. But if you walked up and found this exact car at a used car lot for sale for $5,500 and it had all those items already fixed with a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, would you buy them? Well, Aaron, I do like the car and I got all this history on it. I know it. Yeah, I'd probably do it. Okay, well then I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and fix it. Or if they say no, I wouldn't buy it. I'd move on and say, okay, I'd recommend you go ahead and move on because you have to pretend like this car's totaled out. Like you hit a tree, it's totaled, it's gone. And we're rebuying this car and buying these miles. So even in the smallest repair, it may not financially look like it's worth it to put it into that car, but you're buying miles, and that's what we have to pay attention to.
Love it. All right, we got a couple more real quick. We're going to get through here. So Betsy says her shop is doing 430 cars a month at 500 ARO. Is that good? What is the goal ratio?
I don't know what type of shop you are. If you're an American Asian shop with just a tiny bit of diesel and a tiny bit of Euro, yeah, you're good. I think that's great. Just grow car count. Leave it right where it's at.
All cars, tiny diesel. So I would say, Betsy, you're doing pretty darn well right there.
If she's got a ton of a Euro, not so much because now the Euro is really propping it up. Maybe the American Asian is like at 250 and the Euro is like 7. So
cool. We got 2 more questions here. So Mike is asking us, what is the return rate for new clients? So new customer comes in, what are you expecting to see?
So if you got 10 customers today, we want to see in the future 7 of them.
Cool.
So now let me point something out. If your market, I teach an entire thing when they were my client, like an entire multiple hours course on that. How do I succinct this? If you are a mature shop, you're an 80-20. If you are a fast growing shop, you're going to be in that 60-40 range. If you're a poor ran shop, like you're just running customers off, you're also 60-40. If you have maxed out your marketing, you're going to be around 80-20. But if you were to go and let's say do direct mail from a limit of 2 miles out to 4 miles, well, then that might drive us back down to a 70-30 and cause the shop to start growing again in customer rate. But we all have to pay attention to how many customers we're currently servicing, how many times a year they're coming in, et cetera. No one teaches this. No one pursues this. How many phone calls we're getting a month, hits on our website, everything. This tells you so much about your business and it helps you run it well. And believe me, anybody out there who thinks they need a CSI, you're crazy. Just look at that. Your return versus new. You don't need a CSI score. That tells you everything. They're voting with their feet.
Cool. All right, last question for you, Aaron. We'll let you go here. What is a decent comeback ratio? Obviously, 0 is pretty hard. 0.
Yeah, I mean, I strive.
Is 0 the goal? I mean, it's truly.
Yeah, I strive for none. We have to get it to break while it's still at the shop. That's why I have a QC guy who I pay $30,000 a year, and all he does is get in every car, do a second test drive. He sprays degreaser on the tires. He cleans them all off. He puts tire shine on the tires. After he gets the wheels clean, he vacuums up the 2 front floorboards, gets any obvious trash out of there. Customer walks up and says, wow, they washed my car. And they get closer and they go, well, that's a crappy car. Washers no bird poop on the hood. But from 50 feet away, it looks great. But we focused on him holding that clipboard. He goes through every item and checks it off. If we did taillights, or if we were in the trunk, he pops the trunk, makes sure the carpet's put back. If we did a cabin filter, he makes sure that the glove box is tight and everything works. Everything from brakes, he's looking to make sure he sees a brand new rotor in there and a brand new set of pads. It doesn't matter. Anything and everything that can happen. When you're a high volume shop, you can miss stuff. You could literally not even do the brake job and not mean to, like the shop's just so busy. And so you want to make sure you have that quality control happening. You know, the Japanese were looking, when they were trying to outrun America for quality, they took a different approach. America was trying to lower their comeback rate, like you just said. Japanese tried to eliminate it. Two different mindsets. Just strive to eliminate it at all costs. That way, maybe you hit 0.5%. Try to eliminate it. Don't try to lower it.
Build it out of your repertoire, right? Build it out of your processes. We're expecting zero. Hey, stuff is going to happen, but we're expecting absolutely nothing.
Just spend the money on it. A lot of guys are like, that's $2,500 a month, even $3,000 a month.
How much does a comeback cost you, right? You get 1 or 2 a month.
And not even just a
pays for
comeback.
itself. The
They go tell all their
reputation.
friends.
Yeah. Fix it right. Fix it the first time and fix it on time. And
If you just did that and did nothing else, you'd go to your shop.
exactly.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
Cool. All right, Aaron, I appreciate it. We'll see you back a little later today. Enjoy your view.
And what time is that at? Because I'm actually at a conference. I got to go back down.
2:00 Eastern.
And what do I got to do when I come back?
Just come on, just a round table, everyone discuss and get into a couple topics. And yep.
All right. If I'm busy, I may have to do that part on my phone and just go out in the lobby.
That'll work.
I'll be there.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks,
2
Aaron.
o'clock Eastern,
Yes, sir.
1 p.m. my time. Cool.
Got it.
All right.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Y'all have fun.